In the last episode, we pretty much finished off the engine and installed it into the engine bay. This time we're going to focus mainly around all the suspension components and the frame pieces that go underneath, and also, of course, a lot of the drivetrain pieces. As you can see, it starts really well with some detailed pieces that actually function and also have some super cool dust boots. And from there we quickly move on to some of the other pieces surrounding the knuckles and also the brake calipers and even the coilovers, which fully need to be built up. Now, I've talked about modifications in the first couple of episodes a lot, and I'm still debating whether to do it or not. I got some really generous offers from some of you guys to design some wheels, and I'm still on the fence whether I want to do it or not. I don't think it does any harm if I do decide to do it, but a lot of you seem to want to keep me building this in the original form. Don't want to remove the carpets that are originally red and change them into black, and also advise me to keep the stock wheels. Now, I do want to quickly note that the carpet I'm going to leave, as I really think you guys are right, and the red carpet is pretty iconic for this car. However, on the wheel side, I do think it is kind of fun just to design a couple of wheels with some of you guys and just to see how it works out. I don't have to use them in the end, but it's just a cool process to go through in my opinion. So again, thank you very much to all of the guys that reached out that I want to help in designing some wheels. I will be contacting you shortly. With most of the assembly for the main subframe now completed, I could move on to the steering rack. After completing the steering rack, I could install the coilovers and knuckles and then put that onto the front subframe. With the C-clips now installed, I could move on to installing this entire assembly on the underside of that engine bay. Now back to the modification side, these calipers and discs look like they have pretty much the same color. How would you guys look up to me painting the calipers maybe black, or some other suggestions would be welcome in the comments below. I'm just screwing on the wheel right now and putting on the center cap, but that is easily removed for the wheels to be changed out to some that we designed with the community, and also it is really easy just to remove the calipers and paint those in a different color, but I just want to know what you guys think. Now, I myself was already pretty amazed at the scale that this thing had just from the engine bay and the front wheels that I had, and then this package came in with the main floor pan, making it even bigger. With a couple of the brackets and wires now installed on that main chassis piece, I could move on to adding even more detail into the engine bay, starting off with some pieces for the firewall and the firewall itself. With the brake master cylinder and also the reservoir now fully installed, there were a couple more brake lines that needed to be installed as well, and these will later on be routed on the chassis to the rear. With all of the parts on the firewall now completely built up and installed, I could install the firewall as well and start routing some more of those brake lines and wires to the rear section of this build. As if the engine bay was not detailed enough already, it was time to install a couple sensors, even more hoses and wires, and I'm pretty sure that this is even a nicely detailed throttle body. The battery itself was even made out of different parts and pieces that needed to be glued, screwed, and assembled as well. Another piece for the frame on the front needed to be installed too, and I could then move on to starting the main suspension and all the other components for the rear. After assembling all of those pieces together, it was time to put the two together, and to see if it actually functions in the end is really cool. It of course does need some brake lines as well. After putting that rear section together with the rest of the floor pan, it was time to move on to even more packages. This one had a nice little surprise in it too. It was a 1/43 scale model of this actual car, but then in a limited edition chrome finish. Really cool touch and really nice to see this in the packages, just to have a couple surprises here and there. All of the tires were put onto the wheels, and then I could start assembling some more. A quick test on the suspension for the rear and front just to see how well they work, and it really does work nicely. In order to install the spare tire, I still needed to apply a couple of brackets and also the main frame to hold it in place. With that screw now tightened down, that is securely in place, and I can move on to the final piece of this stage in the build, and that is to assemble the front bumper. Now there will still be a couple more pieces for the main chassis. Of course the exhaust is still missing, the gas tanks and some other components, and there will even be some more electronics installed too. I think there is room for a speaker and also some lighting. For now though, I'm out of parts and I need to wait for a couple more deliveries, so when those arrive I will be back with another update.